Senate will come to order. Mr. Schauffele, please call the roll.
Senators Amabile, Baisley, Ball, Bridges, Bright, Carson, Catlin, Cutter, Danielson, Danielson,
Excused.
Doherty, Exum, Frizzell, Gonzalez, Hendrickson, Jaquez Lewis, Judah, Kipp, Kirkmeyer, Colker, Liston, Lundeen, Marchman, Michelson-Genet, Mullica, Mullica,
Excused.
Pelton B, Pelton R, Rich, Roberts, Rodriguez, Simpson, Snyder, Sullivan, Sullivan,
Excused.
Wiseman, Winter. Mr. President,
Let's do this. The morning roll call is 32 present, 0 absent, 3 excused. We have a quorum. Senator Kipp, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
Approval of the journal. Senator Carson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate Journal of February 10th, 2025 be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Man, that was weak, but the ayes have it. And that motion is adopted. Senate Services.
Correctly engrossed, Senate Bill 62, Senate Joint Resolution 6. Correctly re-engrossed, Senate Bill 60 and 82. Correctly revised, House Joint Resolution 1008. Correctly re-revised, House Bill 1054 and 1076.
Committee reports.
Committee on Education. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 63 be amended as follows, and as so amended be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Education. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 67 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation and with the recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. Mr. President, the Committee on Education has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends that the appointments be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Members of the Board of Trustees for the University of Northern Colorado, effective January 1st, 2025, for terms expiring December 31st, 2028. Brenda Campos Spitz of Greeley, Colorado, to serve as a Democrat, reappointed. Richard Lee Monfort of Greeley, Colorado, to serve as a Republican, reappointed. Committee on Judiciary. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. House Bill 1058 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. Committee on Judiciary. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 12 be postponed indefinitely. Committee on Judiciary. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following. Senate Bill 44 be postponed indefinitely.
Introduction of bills.
House Bill 1023 by Representatives Martinez and Bacon and Senators Gonzalez and Simpson concerning local government review of certain fencing projects.
Agriculture and Natural Resources.
House Bill 1053 by Representatives Morrow and Weinberg and Senators Marchman and Baisley concerning limited immunity from civil liability for landowners who allow access to their property for entry and exit in connection with an emergency.
Agriculture and Natural Resources.
House Bill 1084 by Representative McCormick and Senators Marchman and Simpson concerning the substitution of gender-neutral language for gendered language in Title 35 of the Colorado Revised Statutes.
Agriculture and Natural Resources. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege for Senator Kipp.
You heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege. Senator Kipp.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, members. Today, we are joined on the floor by the presidents of all three of our CSU campuses, Fort Collins, Pueblo, Online, and their mascots, and the Chancellor of CSU. Would you guys all stand so we can recognize you? They are here today in honor of CSU Founders Day. Colorado State University Founders Day, celebrated annually on February 11th, honors the history and impact of our state's land-grant university system and the more than 250,000 living alumni of CSU campuses who are putting their educations to work for Colorado and our world.
Senator Pelton B.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for a moment of personal privilege.
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. In 1862, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Morrill Act to create a unique American model of higher education, the land-grant university, dedicated to promoting the education of the industrial classes in the several pursuits and professions in life. Agriculture is a good one of those. Thanks to the Morrill Act, 6 years before Colorado became a state in 1870, territorial leaders created the Agriculture College of Colorado, which later became Colorado State University, our state's only land-grant university.
The CSU system today encompasses the flagship university in Fort Collins, which is one of the nation's leading research universities, Colorado State University Pueblo, a regionally focused Hispanic serving institution, and Colorado State University Global, the nation's first fully online public university. The CSU system degree-granting campuses together educate more than 50,000 students each year. In addition, the Denver-based CSU Spur campus was created in partnership with the General Assembly to provide year-round free educational and career exploration for all Coloradans.
Colorado State University, go Rams, yeah, has an active presence in every Colorado county through CSU Extension, 4-H, the Colorado State Forest Service, the Agricultural Experiment Stations, and regional CSU hub campuses. The CSU system is also a partner in the Arapahoe Community College STERM Collaboration Campus, an innovative Castle Rock-based partnership among CSU, ACC, and the Douglas County School System. The original land grants used to create the university included traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapahoe, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and people. CSU honors this history by embracing access to education as one of our defining principles. Today, CSU upholds that commitment through their support for first-generation students, military veterans, rural students, working students, and populations underrepresented in the U.S. higher education system.
Thank you. Senator Kipp, that's how you do it.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I continue my moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you. On February 11th, 2025, CSU celebrates 155 years of providing life-changing education, world-leading research, and exceptional service to the people of Colorado, carrying on President Lincoln's vision of promise and opportunity for all Americans. And I would also like to mention that we've had some of our ASCSU students join us on the floor. Would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your attention to our CSU founders, and feel free to get a selfie with our mascots.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I have a point of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you for the previous point of personal privilege. I greatly appreciate it. And go Rams!
Yeah. Welcome, y'all. Thank you for joining us. Give them another round of applause. Mr. Schaffler, please add Senator Danielson to the roll. We'll take a senatorial 5. Please welcome me in greeting our guests. Let's go greet them as they're here on the floor.
But maybe a little delay, I'll get it.
So I showed Monica and it's all excuse. And then when I go back to the third reading, it shows Monica. So when I go into my roll call, I added Dorothy Danielson. So I said Monica, it's all excuse. When I go back to it still shows, it says Danielson, it says Monica here. No.
I'll do is we'll take up 62 first, and then Tom's not here, then we'll wait over.
Okay, sounds good. I'll call on you then first, yeah? You ready? Third reading of bills, final passage. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 59?
Senate Bill 59 by Senator Sullivan and Representative Woodrow concerning measures to support the state's response to mass shootings and in connection therewith to support services for victims of mass shootings.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to lay over Senate Bill 59 to the end of the calendar. Third reading calendar.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 59 to the end of the third reading calendar. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 59 will be laid over to the end of the third reading calendar. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of Senate Bill 62.
Senate Bill 62 by Senators Hendrickson and Weissman and Representatives Carter and Burr concerning contempt of court for failure to appear charges in municipal court.
Senator Hendrickson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move Senate Bill 62 on third reading and final passage, and I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. The motion is the passage of Senate Bill 62. Are there any no votes? Senators, Mr. Minority Leader, Simpson, Frizzell, Catlin, Baisley, Rich, Liston, Pelton R., Carson, Bright, Kirkmeyer, Pelton B. With a vote of 22 ayes, 11 noes, 0 absent, and 2 excused, Senate Bill 62 is passed. Co-sponsors, Senators Amabile, Michelson Janae, Mr. Majority Leader, Cutter, Winter, Kip, Judah, Gonzalez. Please add Senator Exum. Please add the President. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of Senate Bill 59.
Senate Bill 59 by Senator Sullivan and Representative Woodrow concerning measures to support the state's response to mass shootings and in connection therewith to support services for victims of mass shootings.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to lay over Senate Bill 59 until Wednesday, February 12th.
The motion is to lay over Senate Bill 59 to Wednesday, February 12th. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and Senate Bill 59 will be laid over to Wednesday, February 12th. General orders, second reading of bills. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the consideration of general orders, second reading of bills.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted, even though there was one no vote. The Senate will resolve itself to the Committee of the Whole for consideration of general orders, second reading of bills, and Senator Roberts will take the chair.
No committee report.
Okay. Because we didn't do anything.
Nope. Because the bill's perfect, except for this.
Let me have one.
Just put one right there.
Senate Bill 5 is not perfect.
The committee will come to order, and the court rule is relaxed for everyone in the chamber. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Bill 39?
Senate Bill 39 by Senators Bridges and Pelton B. and Representative Martinez concerning exemptions from energy use reporting requirements for owners of certain buildings.
Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 39 and with no committee report, so I just move the bill.
All right, any discussion on this bill? Oh, there is an amendment at the desk. Will the clerk please read the title to L002? Will the clerk
Amendment L002.
Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L002.
to the amendment?
It just makes the bill a little bit clearer with regard to agricultural.
All right.
Getting rid of the word certain.
Any further discussion on L002? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of L002. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and L002 is adopted. Discussion on the bill. Senator Bridges.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to thank departments for working with us on this. This is only on second reading, not the consent calendar, because we needed to make this little fix. Now, the bill should be perfect. If it comes back from the House, we'll be very disappointed, but they will potentially make it even more perfect. So ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of Senate Bill 39. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1033?
House Bill 1033 by Representatives Leader and Garcia Sander and Senator Weissman concerning medical assistance third-party liability payments.
Senator Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1033. There are no committee reports.
Any discussion on the bill?
Sure. Briefly, members, 1033 is a bill that concerns Medicaid patients who also have private pay insurance. Substantively, the bill provides that the private payer has to reimburse Medicaid if they have paid in the first instance, because that's the benefit of the bargain the premiums were paid for. Procedurally, this is an unusual bill because we essentially have to pass it. There is a provision of the federal budget, the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 22, that directed states to pass legislation like this on pain of being out of compliance with federal law. So this is our bill in furtherance of that requirement. I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to seek a little clarification that we're taking action to align state activities and policies with federal law and federal mandate. Is that what we're doing here?
Senator Weissman.
Appreciate the chance to clarify. That is, in fact, what we're doing here. Folks who want to sort of see the source of the requirement can look up Section 202 of the 2022 Consolidated Omnibus Appropriations Act, now codified at 42 U.S.C. 1396A, sub A25, Roman 1.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1033. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and that bill is adopted. Will the clerk please read the title to House Bill 1019?
House Bill 1019 by Representatives Sirota and Senator Hendrickson concerning third-party administration of programs for persons experiencing homelessness that are overseen by the Division of Housing in the Department of Local Affairs.
Senator Hendrickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1019. There is no committee report.
To the bill.
Thank you. Colleagues, 1019 is a technical amendment to Proposition 123 that passed in 2022 for affordable housing investment and state actions to reduce homelessness. It clarifies that the state can contract with a third party, a nonprofit, to provide services that voters approved the funding for in Proposition 123. This makes that explicitly clear in statute. I ask for your aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1019? Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm not deeply studied in this bill. I'm curious if there are limitations on the amount of state dollars that a contractor can extract in the process of providing the service.
Senator Hendrickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are thresholds that I don't have immediately committed to memory on what percentage of the funding can go to what part of the housing assistance through 123, and within that there is an administrative there's a percentage set aside for administrative oversight of the programs, and I can get you that information. This is something that has been happening in programs prior to 123's passage. This just ensures that with the funds allocated through 123 that can continue.
Senator Frizzell.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair. I also have a question for clarification purposes. Is this part, because this was a ballot measure approved by the citizens of the state of Colorado, was this specific use part of, specifically stated in that ballot measure? Because my experience with Proposition 123 administration is that we have been extraordinarily reluctant to open up the language of that. So that's my question is, was this specific use for providing housing for those unhoused part of the original ballot language?
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that there was, it was housing assistance funding, and part of the set aside was 40. Let me make sure I get this right. 45% of the money transferred to the support fund may annually be used for programs. This is relative to the supports for homelessness. So I think it's clear that yes, to answer your question, that there was supposed to be funds allocated for mitigating homelessness. And again, this just ensures that contracts with third-party nonprofits for that effort is explicitly in statute.
Senator Frizzell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, sorry, I have a follow-up question on this. Is there a cap on administration fees for these third-party contractors?
Senator, Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Technology has finally caught up with the debate. I'm always grateful when that happens. I'm now able to look at the bill, and it does say the division may negotiate reasonable administrative or project delivery costs, but does not specify a cap of any kind for one or more contractors or grantees to administer the program, in addition to the 5% retained by the division for program administration and oversight. So we know we're going to have an overhead burden of at least 5% at the state level, plus reasonable fees, whatever those may be deemed to be. And then new language and amendment that was put on in the House, the division shall consider the past performance history of a contractor or grantee when selecting a contractor or grantee to administer the program. Quite frankly, in the private marketplace, I wouldn't struggle with this at all, because the give and take of a marketplace where competition and efficiency are always designed, they're built into what happens, that makes sense, language like this. But in this particular instance, I'm a little bit uncomfortable. We've got these departments with FTE growing and growing and growing and growing. And then they say, oh, well, it's so much work. We need to hire somebody outside. Oh, by the way, we want to keep 5% of the deal as it moves down the pathway. So I'm not certain that I'm in love with this policy.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I too appreciate technology is catching up with me. So I now have some of the ballot language directly in front of me. Let me read it verbatim. A program serving persons experiencing homelessness to be administered by the division. The program shall provide rental assistance, housing vouchers, and eviction defense assistance, including legal, financial, and case management to persons experiencing homelessness or at risk of experiencing homelessness. I think that part was very clear that yes, these are appropriate funds within the scope of the ballot measure. To the comments just made by the minority leader, when there is a DOLA grant to a nonprofit for the purpose of administering this type of program, there is a NOFA that goes out first, a Notice of Funding Authorization. Within the NOFA, there is guidelines for what is required to be a standard of accounting for the use of the funds and how to show the effectiveness of the program administered by the nonprofit. When they submit their funding requests, they have to respond to how they're going to meet all the wickets, if you will, of that NOFA. and that is into the contract for the grant authority when a grant is actually given to a nonprofit to administer one of these programs. There is then grant management and oversight to ensure that those funds are being properly utilized. That is how DOLA is tracking these programs.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So, one, I'm kind of wondering why the bill is even needed. I believe the department and the division probably already has the authority to contract outside to administer the program. The language that was added on, I believe that must have been in the House, since there isn't a committee report, that the division shall consider the past performance history of a contractor or grantee when selecting a contractor or grantee to administer the program. I guess I would like to hear from the sponsors, please, if I may, as to whether or not we're not foregoing that they have to go through the procurement process, are we? Because that would be something that should be considered through the procurement process. So there's still a requirement for the Division of Housing to go through the procurement process to receive to go ahead and get a contractor on board. Is that correct? So that would be one question I have. And then here's the other question I have. And maybe if everybody can listen up, I really want, I'm probably going to be making these comments throughout as we go through the long bill process and the budget process. But in here it says, first of all, that there are no, although the bill has no impact on overall funding for the homeless program, administrative expenditures may change with increased costs for contract administration and oversight and reduce internal program administration costs in DOLA. To the extent administrative costs increase, funding available for grants and services will correspondingly decrease. So first of all, I think y'all need to understand that if there are any increased administrative costs, that it's going to come from the grant program. So it will be in addition to that 5%, there'll be an increase to they'll take away from the grant program if there are any administrative costs. But to the extent that people are getting fiscal notes and the administration is helping you out with these fiscal notes and are basically saying there isn't any fiscal note on this bill, I just want the Department of Local Affairs to understand, and for all of you to understand, that should they come in with the fiscal note next year, the answer will be no. You don't get to put in 1 year's fiscal note that there is no basically fiscal note or that you're going to reduce the grant funds available and then come back the next year and ask for additional money to administer this contract grants administration. So I just want to make sure we're all clear on that, because it seems to me we've been pretty clever in fiscal notes coming forward and in comments from our state departments with regard to bills that they must really like, that there is no fiscal note. But the other question that I also have for the bill sponsor is here, that it says, although the bill has no impact on overall funding for the homeless program, administrative expenses may change with increased costs, but it's going to come out of the funding for available grants. And essentially what I just heard from the sponsor is that the department, through this division, will basically have a contract now administering this grants. I want to know why there isn't a negative fiscal note. I want to know why we aren't taking away FTE that they're not going to need now because they're contracting this out. Because in other departments, and I'm thinking specifically in healthcare policy and finance, when they come in and they say that they don't want to do contracts anymore, that they're going to need more FTE because they don't want to contract out the services, they ask for, or they do a budget neutral kind of thing where they say, well, now we're going to hire FTE because we don't have a contractor. So if we're putting in here that they're going to contract out and essentially relieve them of some of their administrative duties, I want to know why there isn't a negative fiscal note in this bill to basically address what should be a reduction in FTE. And I didn't see anywhere, I don't know how many FTE they have running this program, but I know it's more than one.
Senator Hendrickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the first thing, the easiest thing to answer is the question about the procurement process. Yes, these programs will go through the procurement process. They are going through the procurement process. Two, the question about future fiscal impacts. The department has said repeatedly that there will not be fiscal impact in future years as a result of this bill. Three, at the start of the good senator from Weld County's questions was the question of whether or not the department can do this already, whether they can have these contracts already. And it's a good question because the answer is maybe, but it's not explicit in statute, and it's important that when we are issuing third-party contracting, that we make sure that it is clear that that is statutorily an available method of administration of the program. I think that it's allowable now, but this ensures that, which is important for the good order in business and clarity of statute around this. Because of that point, that's why we're not seeing a fiscal reduction. It was always thought that this would be available. It's important that we get the statutory language correct to ensure that it is legally available to do that and ensures that we're getting the maximization of dollars to the services of the communities that need those services that the voters approved. So hoping that provides clarity to the questions from the good senator from Weld County.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the good senator from Pueblo County. Appreciate the comments. So I am, again, just going to continue to direct my comments to the general body here, and hopefully the Department of Local Affairs and other departments are listening on. Because here's the thing, it says very specifically that this bill specifies that a third-party contractor or grantee may administer a program in the division. So not just one little portion of it, but a program in the division. In this case, we haven't done figure setting for this department yet. So I will be asking this question on Friday when they come in front of the JBC, why there isn't a reduction in FTE associated with this program now if they're going to contract it out. Because I know they have more, like I said, I know they have more than one FTE administering the program now, and I'd like to know why they're not going to have that. And I would hope that all of you, when we came and when the Joint Budget Committee came and spoke to the joint committees during your SMART Act process, you know, we asked you to partner with us. We've got a huge shortfall and a structural deficit that we have to deal with, and we asked you to partner with us. And so I would hope as you're going through your fiscal notes and you're going through your bills, that when there's the opportunity to cut FTE or cut personal services costs in the department, when you're doing things like this and you're contracting out in your bills, I would hope that you would partner with us and basically question them and question that department and ask them for a negative fiscal note. Because that would be a partnership and that would be assisting with what is, while the Joint Budget Committee's responsibility is to write the budget, it is the General Assembly's responsibility to pass a balanced budget. And we're all going to be here long hours if we keep going through this process and we're not getting cuts in the budget. So again, it's very clear this bill is to take away time and personal services, FTE essentially, that are required to run this program at the Department of Local Affairs and in the division, and yet they didn't bother to put any negative fiscal note on this, or didn't bother to say that, yes, we could reduce FTE. So I'll be having that discussion with the department. I would appreciate if all of you in your bills, if you would be having those discussions with departments as these things come up. And anytime a department says that they can just suck up the cost and do it within a current appropriation, that's great. You missed appropriations by doing that, but you don't miss the JBC by doing that, just so you know.
Mr. Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just want to connect the dots. Why are we spending this time on what seems to just be an administrative adjustment, a request of legislation just to let government do what government does, except hire a contractor to do what government's supposed to be doing? And the reason is this. Have received during the course of the debate information from a colleague who sat in the committee hearing and heard from the department that the typical expense is 5 to 10% when you have a contractor of this nature, plus the 5% that the department is allowed to hang on to. So you've got and the average is generally about 7, we could say. That's what they argued in the hearing. So you got about 12% of administrative burden on the low end. 15% baked into the cake kind of routinely, plus a department that is adding FTE and growing year over year. You've just heard from the good senator from the Joint Budget Committee the process of what's going on. So we've got 15+% of overhead in the project before we even start doing any business. Now, do we care about the underlying issue? Sure. People experiencing homelessness, let's stamp it out. Let's try and figure out how to get at that. Do we want to get at that issue? Of course we do. But also on the flip side of the equation, and the people of Colorado do too, we've got ballot initiatives, we've got people saying do something about this, but also on the other side of the equation, the people of Colorado are saying, I can't afford life here in this state anymore. Kansas is starting to look pretty attractive. I don't think we want that to be the thought of the people of Colorado, that I've got to flee the state of Colorado because I can't afford it. Well, why can't they afford it? Because the burdens that we are putting in their lives, the regulations, the weight of government grows and grows and grows, and who has to pay for it? The people who can't afford life in Colorado anymore. This is a perfect example. I'm trying to connect the dots of how we must do better in government. 15% overhead before you start doing the work? Oh my goodness. In my experience, and I'm getting old enough now, I've had decades of experience in business. If you got 15% overhead before you start doing the work, you better have a really high quality product, because you're not going to stay in business burdening yourself with that kind of level of overhead. We must do better. The previous speaker, the senator that serves on the Joint Budget Committee and looks deeply into this, is saying we should be seeing an FTE reduction, and I agree completely with that. We must be finding some way to be more efficient in the process of seeking out the policy objectives that the people of Colorado have asked us to get to, because they have a policy outcome desire, and we share in that. And it is the burden that falls on us as the board of directors, if you will, for the government of the state of Colorado to figure out better ways to deliver the service that's required. This is heavily burdened. It's an example of the dozens and dozens and hundreds of bills that we will see this year where we are disconnecting over time. We have disconnected from the necessary efficiencies that government must provide if we're going to have Colorado be a bright and shining state 5 years from today, 10 years from today. We've got to get a handle on this runaway excessive government spending. And this is a perfect example of where we're just kind of walking along and saying, look, it's just a small bill, it's just an adjustment. It's a perfect example of how we're letting things get out of control more and more and more. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Hendrickson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to thank the minority leader for recognizing his colleague as the senator from the Joint Budget Committee. I think it's proper that we recognize that when you join the Joint Budget Committee, you become a resident of the Joint Budget Committee. I want to take a step back here for a moment. DOLA has never provided direct services for homelessness. There are not FTE in those positions in that capacity at this time. It is essential to be able to fulfill this part of 123 that they're able to do the third-party contracting. In Prop 123, there was explicit reference to third-party contracting for the other housing affordability aspects of that proposition. But there was not for this. And it's a concern of the Attorney General's office and the Controller's office that the explicitity of the ability to contract third party and other programs, combined with the absence of that explicitity in this section, creates a disparity where it's important for legal consistency that we have that for them to be able to provide that third-party contracting. They do this already. They have already been doing this with homeless assistance programs with third-party contractors, just not with 123 funds. And as there is a need to transition to 123 funds, this gap in the language was identified, and that's what we're trying to correct. So that's why we need to correct this language in statute, and why there is not a corresponding reduction in FTE. That's why I'm asking for an aye on 1019.
Senator Frizzell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's a lot about this that disturbs me, and I'll tell you why. I've done a lot of work in this space and learned a lot. And in fact, ran a bill last year that was successful. Because what we have experienced with this particular department is a complete lack of transparency and accountability when it comes to their processes. And fortunately, or unfortunately, the governor, to the point where the governor had to issue an executive order a year and a half ago. We have a problem in this department, and I really feel like there is not the accountability, and we're not seeing the transparency as part of this bill when it comes to these contracts. You know, I'm reading, and I appreciate the bill sponsors clarifying what was actually in the original proposition. I feel like it was a bit of a footnote, because there's a whole bunch of stuff that the good people of the state of Colorado voted yes on. And when we are paying third parties, and I'll call it what I think they are, NGOs, right? Those non-governmental organizations that are completely 100% unaccountable to the people whose money they are using. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. Further, there is an opportunity cost associated with those funds being diverted to those organizations, because this money, according to what was in the original language, is supposed to be going to nonprofit organizations to acquire and maintain land for the development of affordable housing. One of the things that it was really specific about was helping our resort communities. And in the the bill that created the administration of 123, that was an important conversation. So to divert those funds that are supposed to go all around the state of Colorado, all around, they're not just Denver monies, not just Denver projects. This money is supposed to be distributed all around the state, and not just for one problem that exists here because of mismanagement. It is not incumbent on the citizens of the state of Colorado to keep funneling money to people who consistently mismanage it. And I'm not trying to upset anybody, but that's just how I see it. We have real needs for affordable housing construction all around the state of Colorado. And I suggest that a good place to start would be a good faith effort on the part of the division of DOLA to reduce its head count and provide us with a negative fiscal note on this bill, just as a good faith effort on their part. I would really recommend a no vote on this bill, or perhaps we think about sending it back to committee.
Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you. All right, lights just went on when I heard that this is a program that they don't already have any FTE managing. And now I'm thinking that this is for that Ridgeview facility that is out in Watkins. that was a youth detention type facility that we made changes to a couple of years ago. Cost us, this facility's cost us more than what we were told a couple of years ago, and they changed it into a homeless shelter essentially and workforce kind of thing out in Watkins. So now here is my question. Here is my question with regard to the fiscal note. I want to know, first of all, maybe from the sponsor, if I may, I would like to know from the sponsor if this is to hire a third-party contractor to manage the Ridgeview facility out in Watkins.
Senator Henriksen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am unaware of any efforts on that with these funds from 123. And in fact, I'm getting confirmation as we speak that this will not be for third-party administration of Ridgeview.
It's not for Ridgeview?
Correct. This is not for Ridgeview.
Okay, I'll take that up with them on Friday.
Seeing no further discussion, the motion before the body is the adoption of House Bill 1019. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and 1019 is adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
The motion is for the committee to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the committee will rise and report. Oh, I know.
Senate will come to order. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee has met and has had a number of bills under consideration. Will the clerk please read the report?
February 11, 2025, Mr. President, your committee of the whole begs leave to report it has had under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof, and makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 39, as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1033, House Bill 1019, passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the report.
The motion is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? Senators Frizzell, Bright, Pelton R, Carson, Pelton B, Liston, Rich, Baisley, Kirkmeyer,
I'm a yes, Mr. President. Sorry, I didn't mean to vote no.
Please mark Senator Pelton B as an aye vote, not a no vote. Any other no votes? With a vote of 25 ayes, 8 noes, 0 absent, and 2 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 39 is amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1033, House Bill 1019, passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having voted on the prevailing side, I move for the reconsideration of Senate Bill 62.
The motion is for the reconsideration of Senate Bill 62. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Wow. Opposed, no. The motion was made by the majority leader. He said no, but it is adopted, and consideration is granted. Mr. Schaffler, third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Schaffler, please read your title of Senate Bill 62. Senator 05.
James, Frizzell's excused right now?
Yes, I'm double checking that.
She's not, like, can. She's not excused right now.
Yeah, because we're changing direction on a bit for her if we do. So excuse her, and then she stays where she was.
Perfect. I'll do that once we come back in. You ready? Very good. Let me know when you're ready. And I'll have him lead again. Let me know when you guys are ready. Okay. Mr. Schaffler, please excuse Senator Frizzell. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title for Senate Bill 62.
Senate Bill 62 by Senators Hendrickson and Weissman and Representatives Carter and Burt concerning contempt of court for failure to appear charges in municipal court.
Senator Hendrickson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I again move Senate Bill 62 on third reading and final passage and ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of Senate Bill 62. Are there any no votes? Senators, Mr. Minority Leader. Simpson. Catlin. Baisley. Rich. Liston. Pelton R. Carson. Bright. Pelton B. Kirkmeyer. With a vote of 21 ayes, 11 noes, 0 absent, and 3 excused, Senate Bill 62 is passed. Co-sponsors.
Remember, you can be a no and a co-sponsor at the same time.
Consideration of Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege by Senator Marchman.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate will proceed out of order for a moment of personal privilege. Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I please have a moment of personal privilege?
Granted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, we are joined in the chamber today from a number of folks from Loveland. If you'll stand up if you're from Loveland. We have Miss Loveland and former Miss Loveland and chamber and Miss Loveland's parents and another chamber representative with us. You guys need to get your Valentines in today because they are taking them to Loveland. This is the 79th year of the remailing program. So thank you for joining us today. And Mr. President, thank you for the moment of personal privilege.
You're welcome. Thank you all for joining us today. We're happy to have you in the Senate. Consideration of resolutions. Mr. Schaffler, will you please read the title of HJR 25-1010?
House Joint Resolution 1010 by Representatives Camacho and Caldwell and Senators Rich and Michelson Janae concerning recognition of military, veterans, and POW MIA Appreciation Day.
Senator Rich.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Joint Resolution 25-1010. Ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of HJR 25-1010. Are there any no votes?
You do that.
With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 3 excused, HJR 25-1010 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Michelson Janae.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of HJR 25-1011.
House Joint Resolution 1011 by Representatives Martinez and Armagost and Senators Kirkmeyer and Ball concerning honoring Gold Star families.
Thank you, Mr. President. Raise your hand.
I don't know what to move.
Okay, raise your hand.
Senator Ball.
You're going to move this bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Joint Resolution 25-1011 concerning honoring Gold Star families.
Any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of HJR 1011. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 3 excused, HJR 251011 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Kirkmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of HJR 251012.
House Joint Resolution 1012 by Representatives Martinez and Luck and Senators Pelton R. and Hendrickson concerning the 57th anniversary of the capture of the USS Pueblo by North Korea.
Senator Hendrickson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Joint Resolution 1012 and ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of HJR 251012. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 3 excused, HJR 251012 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Pelton R.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of HJR 251013.
House Joint Resolution 1013 by Representatives Carter and Kelty and Senators Frizzell and Marchman concerning honoring Colorado veterans on the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II.
Senator Marchman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Joint Resolution 251013.
Any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of HJR 251013. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 3 excused, HJR 251013 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Liston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I request that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call be added as co-sponsors. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title to HJR 251014.
House Joint Resolution 1014 by Representatives Carter and Richardson and Senators Catlin and Mullica concerning recognition and remembrance of Colorado military veterans who served in the Vietnam War.
Senator Catlin.
Thank you, Madam President. I move HJR 1014.
And that's it?
That's a proper motion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1014. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 3 excused, House Joint Resolution 1014 is adopted. Co-sponsors.
Thank you, Mr. President, or Ms. President. I request the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
That is a proper motion. Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors.
Thank you.
Mr. Schaffler, next one.
Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of House Joint Resolution 1015.
House Joint Resolution 1015 by Representatives Kelty and Martinez and Senators Cutter and Frizzell concerning honoring Korean War veterans.
Senator Cutter.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I move House Joint Resolution 251015.
That is a proper motion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1015. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 3 excused, House Joint Resolution 1015 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of House Joint Resolution 1016.
House Joint Resolution 1016 by Representatives Camacho and Hartsook and Senators Pelton B. and Snyder concerning recognition and remembrance of Colorado military veterans who served in the Persian Gulf War.
Senator Snyder.
Thank you, Madam President. I move HGR 25-1016.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1016. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 3 excused, House Joint Resolution 1016 is adopted. Co-sponsors, Senator Pelton.
Thank you, Madam President. I request the current roll call be added as the co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors.
Nice job, Mark.
Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of House Joint Resolution 1017.
House Joint Resolution 1017 by Representatives Verre and Kelty and Senators Carson and Roberts concerning honoring the 10th Mountain Division of Colorado.
Senator Carson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the adoption of House Joint Resolution 25-1017 concerning honoring the 10th Mountain Division of Colorado.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1017. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 32 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 3 excused, House Joint Resolution 1017 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Please add Senator Sullivan to the roll. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of House Joint Resolution 1018.
House Joint Resolution 1018 by Representatives Martinez and Barone and Senator Rodriguez and Gonzalez concerning recognition of the contributions of Latina and Latino veterans.
Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam President. We move House Joint Resolution 25-1018, and thank you.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1018. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 2 excused, House Joint Resolution 1018 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Gonzalez.
Thank you, Madam President. I request that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of House Joint Resolution 1019.
House Joint Resolution 1019 by Representatives Duran and Sukla and Senators Ball and Simpson concerning honoring and recognizing the military service and contributions of Native American veterans and communities.
Senator Simpson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Joint Resolution 25-1019, and thank you.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1019. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 2 excused, House Joint Resolution 1019 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Ball.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam President, I request the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of House Joint Resolution 1020.
House Joint Resolution 1020 by Representatives English and Carter and Senators Exum and Coleman concerning recognition of African American veterans.
Senator Exum.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Joint Resolution 25-1020.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the motion is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1020. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 33 ayes, 0 no, 0 absent, and 2 excused, House Joint Resolution 1020 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Coleman, Mr. President.
No, it's just Senator Coleman. Madam President, thank you. Man, that sounds amazing. We request that the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors. Mr. Schaffler, please read the title of House Joint Resolution 1004.
House Joint Resolution 1004 by Representatives McCormick and Winter and Senators Roberts and Simpson concerning approval of Water Project Revolving Fund eligibility list administered by the Colorado Water Resources and Power Development Authority.
Senator Simpson.
Thank you, Madam President. I move House Joint Resolution 25-1004 and ask for your support.
Is there any discussion? Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, this is not a Military Day resolution. This is something else. So just wanted to call your attention to that. But this is an annual resolution that we do each year to help water projects across the state be eligible for funding. This year's resolution includes 16 new projects and 59 modifications to existing projects, but there are likely projects in your district in this resolution that your communities are applying for funding to help with clean water infrastructure, water rights, water conservation, and a variety of other things that they need. They need to be on this project's list in order to be eligible for some of the funding that's available. So this is a very perfunctory but important resolution that we do every year, and would appreciate your support.
Is there any further discussion? The motion is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1004. Are there any no votes? Seeing none, with a vote of 33 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 2 excused, House Joint Resolution 1004 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Senator Simpson.
Thank you, Madam President. I request the current roll call be added as co-sponsors.
Seeing no objection, the current roll call will be added as co-sponsors.
Thanks, Senator.
Please add Senator Mullica to the roll.
Governor's appointments, that's next.
Okay. Governor's appointments consent calendar. Consideration of governor's appointment consent calendar. Will the clerk please read the appointments listed on the consent calendar?
Members of the Fire and Police Pension Association Board of Directors for terms expiring September 1st, 2028. John Holer of Littleton, Colorado to represent full-time paid police officers reappointed. Caleb Sevian of Boulder, Colorado to represent the financial community with expertise and investments appointed.
Majority Leader Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for the passage of all the appointments on the consideration of governor appointment consent calendar, which is John Holer of Littleton and Caleb Sevian of Boulder for the Fire and Police Pension Association Board of Directors.
Is there any discussion? The motion is the confirmation of the appointments on the consent calendar. Are there any no votes on the consent calendar? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excuse, those appointments are confirmed. Announcements. Senator Cutter.
Thank you, Madam President. I have requested to be absent this Friday, February 14th, and received permission, so I will not be here.
Okay, absence recorded. Senator Weissman.
Thank you, Madam President. This is to announce that the Senate State Affairs Committee will meet today, 2 p.m. SCR 352, to hear 2 bills, 74 and 65. See you there.
Any other announcements? Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, we will be going into recess as we have some bills to read across the desk later. You do not feel free to return if you don't like. And on that note, Madam President, I move that the Senate recess until 11 a.m. today.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the Senate will recess until when the Majority Leader said.